Hey guys, so you all are probably sitting on your couch right now trying to figure out what you're going to do with all the free time you have. I myself have tried not to turn to insanity as an option. I don't know if that has succeeded or not, but you'll see. I've also tried to not annoy the shit out of my cat during this time.
I don't bend now.
I was trying to figure out what I could show you all. I have been working as a chef for the last decade, so I figured I had some skills that I could teach you all. And I was thinking of videos that I could possibly work on, and I figured the best thing I could show you all to do is to make a delicious steak. The perfect steak. Cooking a steak at home is way cheaper than what you could get at a restaurant. Probably a fraction of the cost. Half of the cost, more like it. And if you apply the skills and the secrets that I have shown you today, you and the camera right there, will have juicy, delicious steak for a fraction of the cost. Let the cooking begin.
Okay, here we have a 3/4 inch strip steak I got for super cheap at Kroger. I suggest that you don't get a steak any thinner than this because it becomes more and more difficult to cook the steak to your preferred temperature. I also would suggest getting the most well-marbled steak you can possibly get. Fat is flavor, and it's incredibly important when picking out a steak. It aids in not only flavor, but tenderness and juiciness. Now I'm going to season this steak very simply with salt and freshly cracked black pepper. Make sure to season your steak well because the salt amplifies the flavor of the steak. At a restaurant, we tend to season the food we are cooking really well, and that's why there is such a difference between what you cook at home and the food you have at a restaurant. I usually rub down the meat after I've seasoned it so that way it gets penetrated throughout the meat. Then you just need to make sure that you season all sides of the steak because it's important to have seasoning on all sides. That way you have even flavor throughout.
Alright, we're now at the pan. Got a nice heavy cast iron pan. You want the heaviest, densest pan you have in your repertoire. It will give a much more even sear, and the pan itself will retain heat. Now we're going to heat up this pan here. We want this at high or medium high, depending on how hot your stove gets. Mine, it's just a old little electric oven stove, and so I'm gonna put it more to the high side. If you have a gas stove or gas range, it would be best to maybe do more like a medium high, or maybe just a slightly over medium, because mainly you are working over hot flames at that point. So I am going to make sure that just so you guys see, I'm going to open up my windows. The reason behind that is the fact that, you know, I live in an apartment building and I don't have any ventilation, not any like professional ventilation for that matter. Now you're going to need some sort of fat for your steak. I feel like the fat you use is very important because it also flavors the steak and makes it more delicious. If you have some leftover beef fat from the steak you made before, use that. If you have any bacon fat, that'll be even better. What I do and what I used to use in the restaurant when I cooked was duck fat. Duck fat is a mass amount of flavor. It's just delicious and warm. Makes your steaks just, you know, taste so delicious. And I usually go for like a animal fat. If you have nothing else, use a vegetable oil. I usually don't use a olive oil just for the fact that I don't really like the flavor. I think it's just kind of a weird flavor when it comes to beef. I use it on everything else, but not steaks. I do not use it on steaks. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and pour a little in our pan here. We're just waiting for this pan to heat up a little bit. We're looking for, when it comes to this pan, for the pan to just slightly smoke a little bit. We don't want too much smoking. Alright, now looks like we're hot enough. You see a little smoke comes off of it. Yeah, and that's the exact sound you're looking for. Kind of like a thunderous applause. Thunderous applause for food. Now, I've seen a lot of cooks say, just leave it. Just leave your steak. Don't move it around. I tend to like to move my steaks around as they cook for the main reason because the more you move it around, you don't want to move around too much, but after every couple seconds I would move it around just for the fact that there's a fat that it's cooling around it but not getting to the meat itself. The fat is what's going to cause the good crust that forms on the steak itself. The more you move it around, the more that fat gets in there and into the little cracks and crevices of the beef. Now I'm going to check under it and see where are we at. Yeah. Nice, juicy, nice color, nice brown. Now that's when you're gonna put it on the other side. Again, moving it around so you can get all that good duck fat. See, we're getting a good amount of smoke coming off, or steam. That's why we have the windows open and the fan going. Of course, you don't have to worry about this if you have a overhead fan for your range here. I forgot to remind you, I would turn on the oven down here. Turn the oven on. Make sure that's around, like, I don't know, I'd say around 400 degrees would be perfect for this steak. And we're going to go back over here and check our other side of the steak. Yeah, it looks good. And now we're going to sear our fat. Searing our fat so it's nice and crispy. Nice and brown like the other parts of the steak. We're looking for uniformity because we want the whole steak to taste just as delicious as the first bite. Do the last side. And I usually do this rocking motion here just so that, you know, all sides are dark brown and delicious. Alright, that looks good, doesn't it? Alright. Now, we're turn off the stove here. And we're going to take the steak and we're going to put it over here. We are going to let it rest for 5 minutes.
Since there is such a high heat being applied to the steak, there needs to be time where the temperature of the meat equalizes and becomes one temperature. That way, there is an even cook throughout the steak instead of being well done on the outside and medium on the inside.
Alright, now we're going to take the steak after it's rested for a few minutes to at least a few minutes, if not 5 minutes, and we're going to take it and we're going to put it in our pan that's over here. Now we need to make sure that we're temping our steaks before we put it in the oven. I got this nice little instant read probe thermometer. Put the product in the description down below. And it's really nice because it has a little, it has magnets going all the way down it so that you can just put it on your stove or on your fridge and then not worry about it. It'll be there where you need it to be. We're going to open this up and temp the steak. Now, we're looking for around 130 for a good medium rare steak. 140 if you want a medium. 150 for a mid-well. And 165 and up for a well. It's 102.9. Needs to go up about 28 degrees. So I'm going to take this out. Put it there. Put the steak finally in the oven here. Put it on the middle rack and shut it. Now we're going to set our timer for about 4 minutes. Now as you can see, my timer's went off, and so I took it out of the oven. And then we're going to put it over here. Let's see, we want to temp this again just to see where we are. We're at 130. Alright, looks like it's about 130, and so we're going to let it rest for about 5 minutes. Rub the steak with a little bit of butter. More like 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna take this and rub it all over the steak. It's gonna give it a nice glossy. Rubbing with butter, and we're going to let it sit for about 5 minutes so that we can have a good resting, so that all the temperatures normalize throughout the steak, and we have a nicely cooked steak from top to bottom. Alright, now it's rested and we're good to slice. Always do it on an angle. Using the whole width of the blade to slice. I'm gonna take this part off.
Alright guys, that's it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.